We're living through strange times. We just witnessed the second largest bank failure in U.S. history. Fortune 500 companies are laying off tens and thousands of employees. And record-breaking inflation is putting strain on millions of Americans, pushing families closer and closer to the poverty line. Now, looking at all of this, it can feel like we're heading toward another 2008, or worse, a total breakdown of the American economy. And if you're worried that's the case or about America's future as a whole, you have the right to be concerned. You're going to want to pay close attention to my guest tonight, because today I have the privilege of sitting down with a 14-year Fox News veteran and stock-picking titan, Mr. Tobin Smith. He's come out of an early retirement to tell you what is actually happening in the American economy. Unlike many analysts, Tobin doesn't believe what's happening right now is a recession. Rather, all of this economic chaos stems from one single event, one that no one in the media is willing to talk about. Tobin and his team refer to it as the Great Unwinding. And in the months ahead, it could lead to the complete collapse of the American economy. In fact, if this event is left unchecked by our government, it could impact critical areas of our economy and affect American national security. Hospitals could run out of life-saving medicine. The military could lose access to critical tools. And we could even see rolling blackouts rock the United States. By the time the unwinding has moved through the American economy, this country could become something none of us even recognize. We're talking about the complete dissolution of the American empire. And since the media has no clue what's coming, Tobin predicts millions of Americans will be blindsided. But if you're listening right now, you don't have to be one of them. Because today, Tobin is going to tell you the truth about the massive unwinding event. And he'll show you 3 steps you can take today to prepare yourself and your family for the days ahead. And trust me, you could not be getting this information from a better source. Even if you're not a financial junkie, Tobin Smith's name should sound familiar to you. For over a decade, millions tuned in to watch him live on Fox News, where he served as a contributing stock analyst for one of the nation's leading financial shows, Bulls and Bears, where he highlighted multiple huge financial shifts, allowing viewers to sidestep financial calamities, like when the market plummeted over 41% during the financial crisis. Or you may recognize him from some of his famous sit-downs with industry insiders and global leaders, like ex-Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson, ex-Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke, and former Presidents George W. Bush and Donald Trump. He's uncovered multiple stocks that have soared over 1,000%, including Apple, which he recommended right before the iPhone hit the market. He's the author of not 1, not 2, but 3 New York Times best-selling books. And of course, that's in the past. Now Tobin is warning that this massive event could bankrupt many of the companies that he recommended back in the 1990s. Popular retirement stocks that could be sitting in your retirement portfolio right now. That's why Tobin is coming forward today, not only to tell you the true nature of what's happening to the American economy, but also 3 steps you can take today to prepare for what's ahead. This is the raw truth, the unfiltered message that you're not going to get from any mainstream media outlet in America, directly from one of America's most iconic analysts. My name is Brittany Cascone, and I'll be your host for today's exclusive interview. Now, let's kick things off and welcome our very special guest, Mr. Tobin Smith. The wonderful Mr. Tobin Smith. Tobin, how are you today?
Well, I think there's already a Mr. Wonderful, but thank you. It's a pleasure. And please, call me Toby.
Now, Toby, you've been at the forefront of so many huge economic shifts, from devastating black swan events like the dot-com collapse or the 2008 financial crisis, to recommending once-in-a-lifetime profit opportunities like Apple at a split-adjusted 42 cents, or MicroStrategy at $12 before it soared to $350. Good or bad, you've consistently shown people how to get ahead and even profit. And today, you're coming forward with what you're calling the most important warning in your 30-year career in finance. A warning you say goes beyond just the U.S. economy or a handful of stocks, but concerns the future of America as a whole.
You're right. You're correct. I mean, not a lot of people realize this, but we're living in this time through the biggest financial event ever since World War II, Brittany, an event that I believe could lead to the end of America as we know it if it's not handled correctly. That's why my team and I have been monitoring this event for many months. We even started calling it the Great Unwinding since it's literally unwinding the global financial system and the fabric of American society.
Yeah.
We're at that point now where even some of the media publications are finally paying attention. I mean, Forbes, I read this last week, warned that the great unwinding would damage the U.S. economy and cripple many others. Well, guess what? You're a little late to the party, but you're right. The analysts at ING warned in 2020 that the great unwinding would hurt growth everywhere. Jackson Hole Economics even published a research paper showing that the great unwinding could push us toward what they call an age of mega threats. And we're already starting to see some of those mega threats come to life. And it's inflation, the struggling middle class. You know, by now the economy is approaching a breaking point. And this is what I believe things really start to get ugly and fast. And that's why I wanted to sit down with you and talk about this interview. For starters, the majority of mainstream media outlets will not touch this story. I learned that while I was on the news myself. And those that do talk about it rarely see the big picture. That's why I'm going to talk to you about what's really going on today in the world. And I'm going to give you 3 critical steps that everyone listening today can take to protect themselves, protect their family, and protect their assets in the days ahead, because these are steps I recommend to my own family and to my money management clients. And the great thing is, these steps are already starting to pay off. I mean, example, my followers were able to tap into stocks that went up over 100% or 200% in the middle of 2022, right? Everybody else is panicking, the bear market was crashing. But because my investors knew what to do, they made out just fine.
Toby, it sounds like we have a lot to cover today, but before we dig into the great unwinding and what it actually is and how it's at the root of so many of the economic issues we're currently seeing, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about how you uncovered this story. I've been interviewing financial titans for a while now, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone with a strategy quite like yours. If I'm understanding this correctly, you found one metric that allows you to accurately forecast financial meltdowns. It allowed you to get in front of the dot-com crash and the 2008 financial crisis. And now it's alerted you to this great unwinding event. What is your approach?
Well, it's a great question. And I've been studying big economic enormous shifts like this for 40 years, Brittany. And you're right when you say, I sort of have a unique way of finding them. My approach is so unique that I developed an entire research firm around it back in 2000. That research firm today, folks pay up to $50,000 a year just to get access to. It's called Change Wave Research. And those people trust me and are willing to pay a small fortune because they understand that my strategy goes beyond just the surface level and cuts straight to the heart of the market. And I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it, Brittany, but are you familiar with the butterfly effect?
Actually, I am. Basically, it's the theory that if a butterfly flaps its wings in one part of the world, it could create a fluctuation in the air that could cause a tornado somewhere else. Am I right?
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, I realized early on that this butterfly effect is alive and well. It actually is in the global economy. If you find these small unnoticed events, they're happening in the market, you can get ahead of these huge avalanches or a hurricane, in economic terms, right? Put simply, I look for the root cause of these big financial events. And that way I can predict the way that it will move through the market and then impact investors. Now, sometimes these root causes are small, almost undetectable, AKA the butterfly, right? But that's why you have to go below the surface. And you have to go below the basic economic indicators and look where no one else is looking. And for example, do you know what caused the 2008 crash, Brittany?
I think bad mortgage loans, if I'm right. Anyone with a pulse could buy a home, right? It didn't matter if you could actually afford it. That was the biggest problem. They would just give it to you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most people know that now, but back then, no one was talking about those bad loans because most people didn't even know it existed. But I did, and my research team did. And, I was talking to people in the banking community who were warning me how dangerous these loans were. I even talked to then Secretary Hank Paulson, and he told me what was going to be coming, right? So chasing the story on those loans, it allowed me to uncover the crisis. And I was able to warn my followers before the markets took a dive. In fact, I was on Fox. I told people it was about to happen to get a lot worse. And then, unfortunately, the market fell 41%, right? That's a crash. Now, granted, the majority of the media wasn't willing to cover my story because my warning, was an anomaly. But a lot of my peers in the media space were actually saying things were getting better. And that's why, and I cannot emphasize this enough, That's why my Fox viewers got lucky that day. I mean, we really shouldn't rely on the mainstream media to let you know about what's going on. But the majority of them don't do the research that I do.
Right.
I mean, it's a fact. And they won't tell you anything until the blood is already in the streets and it's too late.
I mean, that's a fairly radical position. You were the star of Bulls and Bears on Fox News for 14 years, but now it sounds like you're writing the mainstream media off. Well, tell us about this.
Well, their track record is pretty bad. So yeah, I am. I mean, I'm very qualified to tell you when the media is full of crap.
I like that. I like that about you.
And at this point, the media in this country only cares about one thing, and we know it. It's getting more viewers, getting more people ticked off. But more viewers to a publishing company does mean more money. That's why they're obsessed with all this political drama, the social issues, shootings. They know that's what gets people riled up or it gets them scared. And because they're so focused on that, they literally miss the forest for the trees. You know that old expression? You know, that's why what they're calling now, we were going through, is a recession. But it's just like it's 2008. It's deja vu all over again. They're too lazy to actually do the actual work. They don't want to dig deep. They don't want to find the root cause of all this economic chaos. And because they aren't doing it, they've missed the real problem of America's economy. And that is the unwinding event. And it's the core reason I left the media and I launched my own investigative branch. I want to get out of the hype cycle, man. And show people the actual path to get on before these big events, happen. I mean, case in point, Silicon Valley Bank. Our internal research indicated way before that there was a massive risk that had been going on for a long time, right? Before it went down, and it came down.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? Silicon Valley Bank was a massive event and you got there first, or should I say you got out of there first?
Well, I will say my team and I did. The Fed had uncovered issues with the bank a full year before it crashed. I mean, but hey, media was silent. And when those issues started coming to light, that's when we started watching. We realized this could be a huge issue for our economy. And we were right here and we're right now. I mean, it took a year, but on March 6th, 4 full days before SVB went down, I got a call from some of the bankers in my network. And these guys are insiders. They're top brass. I can't tell you their names, of course. But in the simplest terms, my sources told me that SVB, as everybody calls it now, was toast. And they told me to brace for the days ahead, that other bank failures were going to happen, and they did.
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that none of this information was shared on cable news, was it, Toby?
Hell no.
That's a big hell no.
Yeah, and one, I'm not even sure if the media would have covered it, right? 2, the guys in my network wouldn't talk to the media because they're too high up.
Right.
But they'll talk to me because I built this network of insiders, developing over many years. And because I have the connections, I was able to prepare the people who follow me and my work in advance of the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. And not only did we get in front of it, but we even isolated a unique way, a unique play that allowed us to profit from all the chaos. And that extraordinary opportunity that comes when, the caca hits the fan yielded almost 1,200% in 3 days. So that's, $100 into $1,200, that's $10,000 into $120,000. I'm proud of that.
That's some incredible work there. You really made lemonade out of just lemons and a lot of money too, I'd say.
Well, that's sort of the nature of what I do. I mean, we uncover these butterfly moments, the root cause of major problems. Then we see what those root causes will lead to, and then you can see whether that's good or bad.
Right.
But we at least know how to play them. And here's just one more example before we jump into the great unwinding. In late 2019, we got word from one of our China-based experts, an insider working within the factory of one of our portfolio companies, Micron. And they told us that their Chinese factories were shutting down. Now, they sent these notes to me over Signal, right? So it's all encrypted. But they were being shut down because of a mysterious illness going through China.
Now, I'm going to take a guess here and say, was it COVID-19?
Well, you are not only beautiful, but you're smart as well, okay?
How did I guess that?
Yeah. But no one in America knew it yet, right? So back to butterfly events. I knew that this COVID and the shutdown of Micron would have effects that would ripple through the broader economy. So we started to prepare. By the way, 5 million people leave China on airplanes every day, okay? So we knew this was going to be a big issue. The first step was to manage risks. So we sold our position in Micron, and since the factories are closing, we made about 340% there. It's true. It ain't bragging if it's fact, okay? The second step was that, was to find a new opportunity, and one appeared very quickly because, within days of hearing about COVID, I got word from another contact. This one is a microbiologist with the FDA, and he was working on a Moderna contract. And he told me that Moderna had perfectly positioned was perfectly positioned to rapidly produce an RNA vaccine.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, Moderna was in fact 30 days away from launching it. So we were able to take that information. We got in one trade, buying in at about $50 into the stock. And by the time obviously COVID was spreading in the United States and around the world, that trade went to $345 in about 60 days.
Wait, so you not only averted a crisis with Micron, which you sold for a profit before it plummeted in value, but you also found an opportunity that went up over 500%. So that's over 840% in potential gains out of just one event, Tobin.
And you can do math, exactly, right? Because
all right,
we knew the butterfly moment, the root of the problem. I mean, I don't want to be repetitious, but that allowed us to both protect our capital and to add profits to our capital. I'm proud to say these are just a few of the events that I and my team have uncovered. I mean, these kind of things happen regularly, but you won't hear about them in the mainstream media. And that's why I developed this network just to track these events, which brings us now to the Great Unwinding. Because the massive transformative event that I want to talk to people about today, I wanted to get in front of it today. And I'll be blunt. What we're looking at today is a hell of a lot bigger than a pandemic or a bank crash. It's going to be more impactful than a recession, probably more than a depression. And that's why, even though I've been covering market shifts like this for 40 years, I'm comfortable saying this is probably the most important call I'll ever make. Inflation, layoffs, bank failures, those are the early days.
Right.
What people need to do now is brace for what's ahead. Today, I can help you do that. And as I said, I'm going to give you 3 critical steps you need to take, and I'm saying now, to prepare.
All right, so let's jump into it. What is the Great Unwinding event, Toby? And why has it gotten you so worked up? I mean,
yeah, I know.
You're excited about this. You're pumped
honestly,
up.
This is important stuff, Brittany. It's people's money. It's people's lives, right? So for starters, understand that things of this magnitude don't, creep up on us overnight. The Unwinding event has been developing literally for decades, but it's been building in the background, sort of infecting our economy, almost like cancer. By 2020 was the first time that we started to see the symptoms. And the public became aware that something was pretty wrong, very wrong, as a matter of fact. And Brittany, you remember all the supply chain shortages we started to see. Toilet paper, baby formula. I know you had a new child at that time. I mean, that was crazy. But we couldn't get many of the items we had gotten used to seeing all the time, available 24 hours a day.
I don't think I'm ever going to be able to forget that time. Personally, I'm a new mom. I was pregnant when COVID first started. So the baby formula shortages were absolutely terrifying for me. Even though I was like, okay, I chose to breastfeed. I'm like, what if I wanted to go to formula? To not have that option was just frightening. Yeah. And you'd never imagine that I would have to worry about something like that in my lifetime. I mean, no one ever did. And I'll be honest, I thought those shortages were really caused by what was going on with COVID, though. I didn't think it was anything else. But if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly here, you're saying that these shortages were actually caused by this Great Unwinding event?
Well, yeah. I mean, COVID is part of it. It actually accelerated the whole unwinding, to be honest.
Right.
But I'd still say the core cause, the butterfly event, is still is still unwinding itself.
Right.
I mean, it's you see this. It's the same with record high inflation we're currently seeing. People are saying, there's a recession. But it's also a symptom of this great unwinding. The Wall Street Journal said recently that the great unwinding would increase our risk of inflation. And this goes beyond just inflation and supply shortages. At this point, we're starting to see symptoms of this great unwinding in our bank accounts, in our personal lives. We're seeing it certainly in our political system as Democrats and Republicans, do nothing but fight and don't get anything done. And then this escalating chaos means that we're getting to the final days of this event. So soon, literally, we could see energy shortages, medical shortages, dare I say, even famine in parts of the world. I mean, This could devastate America if politicians don't get their head in the game.
So what exactly is the Great Unwinding itself, and how does it cause all of this chaos you're talking about?
Well, the academic term for the Great Unwinding, Brittany, is deglobalization. That's what the Harvard economists call it. That's what the MIT folks are now calling it. I just like to call it the unwinding because in its simplest form, that's what this event truly is. It's dismantling many of the critical trade routes America's had to come to rely on in 70 years, easy for me to say. But it's our trade routes to China, Canada, Europe. All those trade routes are currently unwinding as we move towards this, age of globalization to deglobalization.
Right. Well, that's why we couldn't get baby formula or car parts at, one point, because the supply chains that provided these products are breaking down.
Well, not only are they breaking down, they've broken down. And this unwinding process was happening before COVID. But, COVID just threw gas on that fire.
Right.
Now it's happening far more quickly than anyone expected, or worse, is ready for.
Right.
And now we could be months away from the collapse of 3 critical supply chains. And if they go down, we could be looking at many more job losses, even higher inflation. And I don't say this lightly, but what I've seen recently, there could be riots in the street.
That is just so scary. And you don't think that there's anything that the government can do to stop this? I mean, I know Joe Biden launched an executive order, one focused just on fixing our supply chains, but that won't help?
Well, I'm going to be honest here. I mean, for the sake of America, I wish him and his administration a lot of luck here. But we're just fooling ourselves if we think that this cat is going back in the bag, if you will, right?
Yeah.
But by now, the unwinding event is already baked into our economy, and it's always been coming. It's just that the world that was possible in the 50s all the way to 2010 is just not possible anymore. Meaning the entire economic system you and I grew up with, me longer than you, is about to disappear.
All right. You can't just say that, Toby. You got to explain what you mean, because now you have me so locked in.
Well, let me just tell you that, there's a lot of people that have forgotten this, right? 80 years ago, America was an entirely different country. We produced all of our own goods and services and our food and everything else. The milk you and I had in our family fridge, it came from the farm, down the street.
Wish I lived in those times.
Yes, our clothes came, I'm projecting me. Our clothes came from a local shop, from a seamstress or a tailor, right?
Right.
Even our oil, we owned our oil pumps, we owned the mines, and sure, we traded here and there, but as a whole, America and the strength of America is that we were not only independent and a democracy, but we were self-sufficient. And obviously, this all changed in World War II, right? So after the war, the global economy was in a shambles. The United States was the only country left standing.
Well, we were essentially the big kid on the block at that time, right?
We were the only kid on the block, kiddo. And, we had a responsibility, a moral responsibility, and a security to step in and pick up the pieces. And in the process, we could build a world that was safe for our allies, a world where democracy could thrive. Our leaders, God bless them, decided to do just that. And after World War II, the U.S. launched these international trade treaties like the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. They also started patrolling the global trade routes. Remember, now we have the largest Navy in the world, protecting countries so they could move their goods. We had the world's largest Navy, like I said. Well, we used them. And those decisions, well, they led to the biggest economic boom in history ever, right? So a lot of people know this. This is because the United States was patrolling the ocean. We were making sure everyone else was safe. Countries who before had only been able to trade with their neighbors were now able to ship their wares all over the world, right? China finally went through one of the biggest economic booms in recorded history, manufacturing cheap goods, sending them to richer countries. Japan came out of the shambles to become one of the world's strongest countries, building cars and technology, exporting all over the world. And Japan used to be cheap, man. And then Japan became, hey, it's great. America's involvement allowed the global economy to go from $9.25 trillion after World War II to, get this, over $108 trillion by 2015. And yes, the United States benefited greatly, right? Our own economy went from $1 trillion in 1940 to over $21 trillion by 2019.
So it sounds like to me that the U.S. literally kickstarted the age of abundance.
And you're right. And we did, right? If you're alive today, you lived through the biggest economic boom ever in world history. And for some reason, I think there's a lot of Americans that sort of take that for granted, right? In the age of globalization, global poverty rates declined. Investors made money hand over fist. Any American could live the American dream. One income. I know this is going to sound strange, but one income could support an entire family because clothes, food, and energy were affordable. We also had these huge technological booms thanks to globalization. I mean, just look at this. These all of these big technologies that came about, they came out after globalization started. We got the computer, then we got the smartphone and 3G, 4G, 5G. But the smartphone is a story I know very intimately because I was one of the first analysts to ever recommend Apple when the iPhone came around. And granted, Americans developed this technology, but I think everybody knows now that without globalization, I doubt, I can tell you that Apple would never have become a multi-trillion-dollar powerhouse because thanks to the globalized world that the US developed, Apple was able to sell its phones all over the world. But they could access cheap labor and supplies. iPhone parts come from 43 different countries. That's why globalization didn't just create an economic boom. It created a technological and a consumer renaissance. American car makers like Ford use parts from Hungary, from Japan, United Kingdom, Germany, Sweden. Your computer needs parts from the Netherlands, Chile, China, the list goes on. The globalized system is what we relied on for 70 years. We got used to this age of abundance. And I don't know, dare I say here, that we expected it. It was our birthright.
Yeah.
We could get whatever products we wanted, and then we just saw continual upgrade, new cutting technologies. Many of these technologies delivered to our house, in under an hour, thanks to Amazon. I get mine in a day. I can't believe it. It was paradise.
Now.
Yeah, in a day, right. But, in fact, we sort of grew fat, dumb, and happy, and our expectations were that all the drama and fear-mongering of the media, we loved it right up until 2020.
Right.
And that's when things started to fall apart. I think we all know this now. 2020 was the worst economic year, I don't think people know, since World War II.
Wow.
And it was because it was the first year where we saw this massive globalized system that we've all come to rely on fail. And the global economy came to a grinding halt as soon as COVID hit. I mean, our valuable trade routes, right? The whole foundations of this whole flywheel started to unwind. And we know now factory shuts down in China. That leads to missing parts for American cars. Then we talked about the baby formula. One factory in America went down and our globalized supply chain couldn't come through. That's how fragile the system actually was. I mean, you panic, babies went hungry. And I'm here to tell you that it's about to get a lot worse.
Scary.
Right? Because those were just a few supply chains, Brittany. I cannot emphasize this enough. What we're looking at here now is a complete restructuring of the way our economy has worked and grown and thrived for the last 80 years. And that could send our economic growth back decades. You have to think of it like this. We were a rocket ship, going straight to the moon, riding continual growth and abundance. Now we're retreating. We're going down as these systems unravel that we've grown, that we didn't have any backup for, right? A lot of Americans thought the good times will never end. But the bad news is the end of that prosperity is here. You feel it. I mean, you're going to feel it in your bank account. You feel it in your daily life. But now you know what's actually happening.
So I got to ask you, though, what do you think caused all of this unraveling? You said earlier that this was hard baked into our economy. Was globalization always destined to collapse? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, sadly, the answer is, yeah, it was destined, right? Because this was a system that was limited by design. When the United States was the strongest country in the world, it was easy to be the hall monitor, right?
Right.
If it was expensive, but it was beneficial for us, not only to enforce American policy, but also strong allies meant strong trading partners, more money, right? But today, the entire geopolitical landscape has massively changed, right? The U.S., first off, started stepping back from its role as the global hall monitor. I love that term. But, President Trump, just like him, that was his America First policy. But even Biden, for all of his faults, has continued to push this American First agenda. But behind closed doors, even he or maybe whoever's running the show knows that we can't continue to police the global economy anymore. We can't afford it. We don't have enough people. And we need to bring jobs that we've been sending out to China. We have to bring them home, right?
Yeah.
But this shift doesn't come without a cost. I mean, America shaped the modern world, and us stepping back creates a geopolitical power vacuum. It's a fancy word for saying the world's changed, right? And this has led to all these crazy global tension we're seeing. I mean, China is obviously challenging us now on the international stage. We used to be friends. We're not any longer. They started to run military drills in Taiwan, basically giving America the middle finger.
I mean, that's not just us. China has tough relations with a lot of countries, though, right now.
Yeah, you're right. And the human rights abuses, communist government, I mean, it's not going to, I'm not going to get at it for a lot of reasons, but we're now having an entirely different conversation. And understand this. China is just the tip of the iceberg here. America stepping back as the global peacemaker, first off, has hurt our relationship with Europe, our biggest market. It's hurt our relationship with Japan. And those are our most powerful allies. People don't understand how critical those relationships are. I mean, they're literally the glue that has kept this whole globalized utopia chugging along. And now I'm afraid that we're past that point of no return. I mean, everyone obviously knows Russia started a war with Ukraine. We haven't had that since World War II. The first war in Europe is not only Russia, and then now we're trying to bring NATO into this, right? China just sent spy balloons into our air without fear. Unrest is like skyrocketing all over the world. Famines, food shortages, wars. The media looks at all of these events as disconnected, but they're not. And I see for what it really is. This is the unwinding, or said another way, this is the fracturing of the current world order. And the sooner we recognize this for what it really is, the sooner we can start preparing for it. You can't solve a problem if you don't know it exists.
No, you're so right. And I got to say, this is really terrifying stuff, Tobin. I'm like a little worried. So what you're saying is because of the unwinding, we're reaching the end of the American age. I mean, life as we know it is fundamentally going to change. I don't like the sound of this. So I don't know, how do myself and my folks, how do we prepare? Anyone listening at home, what do we do? Do we invest in a bunker, grow our own food? I would love to be able to do that. Make our amends with God now. Like, what do we do?
Well, let me tell you, you can do whatever you like, but I'm not your priest, right? I'm Irish, right? I'm not taking on that role ever. But I said, deep breath. I said earlier, there's 3 steps you can take to prepare for this, and none of them are that extreme, right? The great news is everybody who's listening today has already taken the first step.
That's true.
Right? You now understand what is actually happening in the global economy, beyond all the worthless and downright misleading, headlines. I mean, just doing that alone puts you back in the driver's seat, right? Second step is you need to, take these things a little bit more complex. It actually takes some preparation work. First off, you need to sell stocks that will lose their value during the unwinding event. Stocks that are tied, entirely to this globalization event, they will take a hit, right? And once you do that, then you need to buy the right stocks, because there's a yin and yang here. Some people are getting hurt by this, but other stocks are going to benefit fantastically from the unwinding.
So you're saying that as bleak as this all is, there will still be profit opportunities that will be able to be made because people still have a chance at adding money to their retirement at this point, or making up for their losses they took in 2022. As long as they buy the right stocks right now, you're saying that they'll be good.
Yeah, I think so. And I think my track record alone proves that even bad opportunities, right, can yield significant profit. For example, I've been tracking this event for years, right? So I knew that during this unwinding, supply chains would be in chaos, right? The energy stock, it would be in chaos too, certainly with the war in Ukraine. So when the boycott of Russian oil started, we said, well, wait a minute, the tankers are going to have to go a much longer way to deliver this oil. And so we were preparing for it, and we were right. We recommended Golar Limited, which happens to be LNG, which is the other thing. If you couldn't get gas from Russia, where are you going to get natural gas? We bought it at $12.50. We sold it, soon thereafter for $30, 150% gain. Another stock, Ardmore Shipping. They're a great tanker. They send all the diesel fuel and all that stuff that we weren't getting from Russia. That went up 248%. We have a company called Accelerate Energy that actually has LNG plants that they ship in the water to Germany. That went up 50%.
So what you're saying is that your followers could have doubled their money on those plays at a time where most people were losing money across the board.
You are correct. Crisis and opportunity, Brittany. The best investors know this goes hand in hand. Not a lot of people were looking at the tanker stocks, okay? They're not very sexy. They're not in the news, right? But my subscribers made money. They were positioned correctly for the chaos and the opportunity that comes from chaos. And that's what I care about.
Right. So where do you think that people should be putting their money to profit at this point? Is it still tanker stocks? Like, what do you
Well, at this point, because everything was so compressed, we're sort of past that trade. It will come again, right? Tanker stocks were the start of this trend. Now I'm looking at the next stage. There's three sectors that, I think will soar thanks to the great unwinding. And the reason is pretty simple. America, unlike the, majority of other countries in the world, is actually set to financially benefit from this massive unwinding. It doesn't mean, things are not going to be tough and things are going to be ugly. But it does mean that when this is all over, America could still be the most powerful country in the world. It chokes me up a little bit because it's a sensitive subject. I mean, in fact, my research indicates that we could see upward of a $10 trillion wealth growth to the American economy, specifically America's Midwest. And the three sectors I'm going to be focusing on, they all benefit from this transformation, deglobalization. And the United States, and particularly the center of the United States, is at the epicenter of this massive wealth shift.
Okay, wait. So I need you to slow down for a second, Toby.
I get a little excited. I'm sorry.
I know you do. I love the passion. I love the fire. But I got to hear this out. And for everyone at home, I got to clarify this. The great unwinding sounds devastating. So how are you saying that America could benefit? I need to put it all together.
You know what? I wish Americans actually studied American history. And if they did, they'd realize that we're the luckiest country on the planet. During the age of globalization, America started to get critical resources from other countries. We got oil from the Middle East. We got drugs and metals from China. But the truth is, in most cases, we didn't need to do that.
Right.
Because what most Americans don't know is America, we won the geopolitical lottery. We have enough land mass to grow food for all of our citizens and export it half. We have more oil than any other country, more than the Saudis. Silicon Valley is still home to the world's top tech companies and entrepreneurs, right? So essentially what I'm saying is, while many countries, won't be able to survive in this era of deglobalization, or certainly not going to prosper, America will not only survive, but it really can thrive. All we have to do is start producing these things at home, and luckily our government sees that. That's why both past administrations have started, putting money back into American industries. After spending trillions of dollars abroad, they're now funneling money back in American industry. I mean, President Trump put a bill together that invested $500 billion into infrastructure in American jobs. I don't know if you've been on a bridge recently, but we need more money than that, right?
Right.
President Biden and his team there have allocated money, I should say, upwards of $2 trillion through bonds. And there's a lot more ahead that's coming, right? All Americans have to do to get in front of this money and watch the profits flood in is be aware. And a beautiful thing, for once, is you can get in early on this shift, right? It's all you have to do is buy the right stocks and hold them through this great unwinding. And you'll not only protect your existing wealth, but actually, I believe you're going to make money at a time when most people think their portfolio is going in the tank.
Okay, I got to say, Tobin, you had me a little scared there for a minute. I was about to start crying, but I feel a little bit more hopeful. I feel a little bit more comfortable now. So thank you for that.
Good.
So these three sectors, the sectors at the heart of this massive $10 trillion wealth shift, what are they?
Okay, the first sector we're looking at here is energy, Brittany. I mean, specifically oil and gas, fossil fuels.
I got to stop you right there. I thought oil was going the way of the dodo. The government says we're going green. Biden just pushed a massive green energy infrastructure bill. So you're going to tell me, even with this great unwinding, they're walking that back?
Don't let them fool you, Brittany. I mean, oil is not going anywhere anytime soon. Green energy in the near future is still basically a liberal pipe dream. Now, don't get me wrong. I love renewables as much as the next guy. A clean world is a better world. But the clean, green world is still years or decades away. There has to be a transition. I wrote a best-selling book on this many years ago, right? But that's another story, right? It's not about me. Let's talk about you, right?
Make it about yourself. Yeah, you can be proud of that moment.
What people need to understand right now is oil is not going anywhere anytime in this century, but because it can't go anywhere, right? In fact, it's more important than ever because today, with what Ukraine invasion has taught us, is energy security is in reality economic security. And we just disregarded that whole thing. I mean, the reality is oil is the foundation of our national security. Just go ask Germany, go ask other countries, right? You look at the stats. A study from the University of Michigan revealed in 2020, only 12.5% of all the energy we use in this country comes from renewables, 12.5%. So I may not be good at math, but how about the other 87% of energy, right? We got to heat our homes, we got to run our cars, we got to cook our food, we got to power our office. That's all coming from natural gas and oil. And it's not going to change overnight, no matter what the clueless Biden administration is selling us, right? Analysts at McKinsey, who actually know what the hell's going on here, they say it's going to cost upwards of like 270 trillion with a T to go green. And that's still going to take many years and a decade or two. The government can't move faster without disrupting our current energy system, okay?
Right, like the blackouts that we saw in Texas.
Well, that's a perfect example, right? You know, that event was largely the result of natural gas pipes freezing. And the fact that the state legislature had been focusing so heavily on, subsidized energy, they forgot about a stable oil infrastructure, right? It was pretty much dumb, and it was certainly short-sighted. But in terms of mainstream energy sources, oil still has the highest energy, right? And more BTUs per than any other thing, right? So that's why, even if you don't like it, liberals don't want to hear it, we're going to have to keep using oil. Now, the Energy Information Association says that we're going to be using oil as our dominant energy way into the 2050s, right? And global demand for oil is growing by 47%. And here's the best part. Thanks to the Unwinding event, it's obvious that a huge portion of that demand will land on America's doorstep, ensuring our position, once again, as the world's largest energy exporter. And I bet you people don't know that.
But aren't Russia and OPEC huge energy exporters? Will they take a chunk of that?
You know, here's the irony here, right? In the past, when we lived in this peaceful, globalized world, they probably could have, right? But it's also become brutally obvious that we can't rely on Russia or OPEC anymore. Matter of fact, they're actually working together.
Right.
When Russia invaded Ukraine, they turned off the taps, cutting energy, Europe's energy in the middle of winter, right? So, and OPEC is not our friend anymore. They just cut oil production for one reason, because they think they can, take over the world with $80 oil, and America will pay the price. And it's very clear, Brittany, that America absolutely needs to start drilling and producing, its own energy again. Drill, baby, drill. But it's for both our own sake, right? And it's for Europe's sake, since they're going to need energy from somewhere.
Right.
And the beautiful thing is, we're actually in a position where the United States, we can do that because America won the geopolitical lottery. We also won the geological lottery, right? Not only are we sitting on more natural gas and oil than all the Middle East and Russia combined, but this means that America, unlike Europe or China, we don't need to depend on a foreign country for oil. And we can supply our oil to allied countries as hostile countries are being forced out of the competition. It's why energy was the top performing sector in 2022, and the rest of the market tanked, right? So that's why we're buying a bucket full of the right energy stocks. And as the great unwinding happens, the billions of dollars that the United States, America was spending on buying oil from abroad can actually go back into our economy. And, I have one American company that I believe will be at the absolute head of this. And this shift is another one that's going to make, trillions, right? This is an Oklahoma-based oil company. They got the most lucrative plays in our nation's best fields. I know you're not an oil nerd, but we're talking like the Delaware Basin, the Eagle Ford, the Powder River Basin. This company could soar as domestic oil companies enter a brand new American oil age. It also pays a growing and hefty dividend, and dividends count now. That's a plus too, right? Okay, I'll tell you more about this opportunity in a minute, right? But I built an entire deglobalization portfolio just for stocks like this. I will tell you how to get that in a minute. But first, let's look at the next big buying opportunity in the great unwinding, green energy.
Okay, wait, hold on one second, Toby. You're confusing me here. You just said green energy is trash. Oil is the king, right? Why invest in green energy if we're just going to keep using fossil fuels?
It's a great question. And so not as complicated as it sounds, right? The truth is, the situation is where you can have your cake and you can eat it too, right? Oil is not going anywhere. And it will likely remain our dominant energy source for 30 years. But renewables are still happening at a vastly accelerating pace. The government is, governments all over are going to funnel trillions of dollars into green energy for the years ahead. And that means the right green stocks are also going to soar in value. But here's the secret. And this is one of the most valuable things I'm going to share with you in this presentation. and not just outside of the great unwinding, right? Right now, 99% of people investing in green energy stocks are doing it completely wrong.
Wait, but what do you mean by that? Like they're buying the wrong companies?
Yeah, they're buying the wrong companies. You're correct. I mean, people are buying green energy companies that are using outdated technology, like lithium-ion, batteries, right? These technologies, no, they're not going to really thrive in this new world after the great unwinding happens. And because, to put it simply, it will just be very hard to continue to build those kinds of batteries, right? Today, China has 63% of the world's rare earth mining. The United States has 4%. This means that all those rare earth metals are in our cell phones, our computers, and the batteries, for military use, and tanks, and satellites, and GPS, they're not only coming from another world power, they're now coming from an increasingly hostile China that really, and Russia together, is like the new axis. And that's what we need to get, this new green energy sources as the great unwinding happens, because China can shut off our access to rare earth metals anytime they want. I mean, they've actually done this in the past, by the way. During the trade war, China threatened to cut rare earth metals off as a way to make the U.S. comply with their wishes, right? But, that's why the government has been quietly looking for a new green energy source that doesn't have rare earth, right? And this is one that America can actually control. And we've found one. It's called hydrogen. We can use hydrogen to fuel green cars. We can also use hydrogen to heat our homes. Even the military can use it for tanks and military and actually fly their jets. That's why the American military has been investing billions in hydrogen research over the last dozen years. You haven't heard about it, but that's a fact. They understand that this green energy source could free us from hostile nations and allow America to build its own green energy empire, even as the great unwinding happens. And oh, by the way, the key part to making hydrogen is natural gas, just FYI, right? So that's why I've added a very attractive hydrogen company to my unwinding portfolio. This will hold the key to powering America's green energy boom. And it's a must-have stock for anyone who's serious about renewable energy, who wants to get a piece of the government's $1 trillion energy plan. But, also, it won't get hit hard when a lot of the battery stocks don't work out or catch fire. It's just, a new reality that we're looking at. And it's truly, to me, the perfect way to play the great unwinding.
Now, a moment ago, you said you'd give us information on that unwinding portfolio in just a bit. And I'm really excited to hear about that and all those stocks. But first, what's the third sector that you're looking at here?
Well, this is the closer, because the third sector that we're deep into researching and watching is probably the most exciting one I've ever seen. It's a sector that one of my one-on-one clients were asking me about on a daily basis. And now you heard the word AI, artificial intelligence, right?
I get that. Ever since ChatGPT launched last year, I feel like everyone is going crazy for AI. Tech titans and big investors are investing billions of dollars. I even saw an article recently from Goldman Sachs saying it could be a $7 trillion industry. But how does AI tie into the great unwinding? Explain that.
It's a great question, but it also fits into the bigger thesis we have here, right? Because just like green energy stocks, a lot of people are investing in AI totally wrong, Brittany. They're buying the FANG stocks, right? The Facebooks, and on a relative basis, they'll give you small returns, maybe get a little dividend. But the investors in those don't see the big picture. Thanks to the unwinding, AI has become much more than just a potential $1 trillion tech boom. It's also as big a national security priority as energy is, right? The Department of Defense, easy for me to stutter, is even calling AI the new oil. It's become very clear that this artificial intelligence technology is not only extremely powerful, but the country who controls artificial intelligence becomes top dog. And with the most advanced military in the world, and we spend the most money on it, and we have the most advanced surveillance systems, and we have the most advanced technology companies, China and Russia have both invested $300 million more in artificial intelligence, AI, right? And that was just in 2021. Well, the United States is going to have to top that, right? Donald Trump, when he was in office, he signed an executive order allocating $1 billion for AI investment. Biden has allocated up to $2 billion. And they're not looking at the big FANG stocks. They don't need our money, right? The money is going to flow into small, innovative, disruptive AI companies. And these companies, I guarantee you that no one has heard of them, but they are providing the critical hardware, the critical software for the AI mega boom. And I'm not being overzealous here. I mean, that's where the real opportunity is. hardware and software companies in the AI space could potentially provide technology to any defense company or AI-focused company in the years ahead for many decades. It's a huge topic, and this is a whole new interview, Brittany, but I do have an extensive 40-page report. We just finished it, just not only about AI, and you won't find this anywhere else, but we found a company that sells for under $2 today with literally 20 times or higher potential. And folks can buy that stock today. All right. So, but for now, let's wrap up by saying that AI is one, if not the biggest opportunity in the great unwinding story. But do you have any more questions before we move on?
No, Tobin, honestly, I gotta say, it's a lot of information, but you always teach me so much and you always make me feel more comfortable whenever I have that worry going on. So I love it. We've covered so much ground with you already, from the great unwinding to what the future of this country will look like in this new age. We also learned that the real root of many of our economic issues is not a short-lived recession, but a massive global trend that you call the great unwinding.
Ding, ding, ding. You're a good listener.
I'm a good student, right?
Yes,
A plus for me.
Right, exactly.
As the great unwinding happens, the supply chains established over the last 80 years will disintegrate. This could lead to many major industries going literally bankrupt. We could see many more empty shelves, which I see all the time, more mass layoffs, and more economic turbulence as we navigate this massive shift. It's frightening.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I have no doubt that we're going to see all those things. That's what happens, Brittany, in a massive, global shift, right?
But even amid all of this chaos, there's going to be opportunity, because the unwinding of globalization is also a massive transformative event. And just like other transformative events have done in the past, it could lead to the right stock soaring by 10 or 20 times as this economic restructuring takes place. And you believe that because the tailwinds behind this shift are so strong. We could see those stocks do that incredibly quickly.
You're right. And this is the biggest transformation we've seen in my lifetime. I mean, these types of stocks we've discussed today, they could deliver on those gains in really just a handful of years because they're being pushed forward by this giant, massive tailwind.
Right. And if people want to tap into wealth, you're suggesting they look at 3 specific industries, what you call the deglobalization powerhouses: oil and natural gas, green energy, and artificial intelligence.
Bingo.
Those 3. I was listening. I told you I'm a good student.
All right. That sounds outstanding. Look, there are trillions of dollars of opportunity in those 3 sectors alone, and I can't emphasize this enough. The great unwinding, it will be a multi-year event, and it's going to be the largest and the most impactful transformative event we've ever seen since the deglobalization after World War II. People are going to have a chance to rebuild their wealth, potentially on the back of just a handful of stocks with these 10-time, 20-time potential. Now, that may sound unbelievable, that you can make great wealth in chaos. But my track record proves this is always where the best opportunities are. The best ones. I'm not settling for number 1 or number 2. I'm going to be greedy, and I'm going to chase down, a few millionaire maker stocks within this massive wealth shift. And I've already started doing that, right? In this past year, we've been burning the midnight oil research, talking to CEOs, and today we put together this entirely new investing portfolio. I call it, and I know this is shocking to you, I call it the unwinding portfolio, right? And in it, you're going to find all the potential 10x plays I've covered in this deglobalization shift, including my favorite hydrogen play, and my favorite Oklahoma-based oil company, and my all-time favorite AI stock that I guarantee you will love. But to find these companies, I went through the same research process I did back with Moderna or Apple back in the day. So this list is going to be the best of the best. These are stocks you're mostly not going to hear about by Wall Street because I doubt they're even on the radar yet, right?
It sounds incredibly simple, Tobin. You're saying all people need is one portfolio and then they're set. They will have the names of 3 10x or 20x stocks all in one place?
Well, look, they'll be able to take the second step needed to prepare with this portfolio. They can position themselves for what is coming, not what happened before, what's coming. And obviously this great unwinding has a lot of moving parts. And what you saw today is really just the tip of the iceberg, right? So we're going to be updating this portfolio in the months ahead, adding more companies, more opportunities. But right now, I want people to get my top 3 stocks. All 3 of them can be purchased on public exchanges. You don't have to be a millionaire. All you need is a brokerage account and a few minutes a day.
So let's say that folks today want to get access to that. How would they do that?
Well, good question, right? So my team and I decided the market value of this portfolio should be around $5,000, right? Considering we put up to $1 million just in this development, it felt fair. But if you're listening today, you can get my deglobalization portfolio completely free. All I'm asking is that people try a risk-free trial of my brand new investment research service, Transformity Investor. I mean, this is a brand new service for me, and I'm just making it now available to the public. And I believe it's going to be critical. You got to stay up to date on this massive unwinding as wealth starts coming our way, right?
Right. Now, is the whole goal of this service just to track the great unwinding?
Look, the great unwinding is a huge part of this service. That's why I'm giving everyone who signs up for free access to my $5,000 deglobalization portfolio. I'm also going to give them people access to my unwinding research portfolio. And that's a collection of reports that detail exactly what we can expect in the year ahead. Think of it like a roadmap, right? It also includes the names of 10 stocks people need to sell ASAP before they buy the unwinding portfolio, right? Because these are toxic companies. These are companies that will not thrive in the unwinding age. Because remember, we both protect wealth and profit, right? Sell these stocks, buy the good ones. But going back to my Transformity Investor, with this research service, I wanted to focus on more than just the great unwinding, right? So changes all around us. Transformative events like Silicon Valley Bank or COVID hit our economy, create chaos. They also create opportunity overnight. So as I've shown you, if you can get in front of those events, you can make millions. And that's what I want to do with this new service. I want to show everyday people how to get in on these opportunities, the same opportunities I've been finding for elite clients for years. And we'll be looking at every transformative event throughout the global economy, from electric vehicle revolution to AI, even political shifts. You can make money on those too, by the way. People who decide to claim a risk-free membership today will get access to the same insider details that I have. If I do an interview of a Fortune 500 CEO or startup leader, you're going to hear about it. You'll get to know about the huge events such as the Moderna vaccine. I promise you, before they happen and before the media knows it, right? People in this service can think of me as sort of their inside guy. If you sign up, I work for you. I'm going to be getting you some of the best, most valuable information on the market today. And this information, not even Wall Street people know about. And we're talking all of those companies. I mean, we're putting them all together in a portfolio, in yet another brand new portfolio. We call this the transformative model portfolio. So this goes beyond the great unwinding. It focuses on a range of multi-billion-dollar sectors. Do I have time to give you a quick example? It's an AI stock that I honestly believe could go up 20x from here.
I mean, for a 20x stock, I have a few minutes.
You're on top of your game. You're my kind of girl, Brittany. Okay. Look, we just added this AI stock to our transformative events portfolio. And you know me, I have to nickname everything, right? So I've nicknamed this is the AI Masterkey. And I want to bring it up because while I can't tell you its ticker on camera, this is an incredibly small company. And announcing it to the public through a forum like this, it's not an option. You can't do that. But the stock is a perfect example of the kind of research you're going to get if you join Transformity Investor. I don't know if you know this, I'm selling this because I want it. I'm so excited about this stock. We uncovered this stock earlier this year, and at this point, I've already had multiple private conversations with the founders. You would like them. These are smart people. They wrote best-selling books on AI before anybody knew what AI, right? No one on Wall Street is following this, which is crazy because it's also clear that this is going to be a huge technology stock. Not only is this company getting massive tailwinds from a huge transformative event, right? The $7 billion AI revolution, but this tiny firm is also doing something entirely unique. I'm talking about a revolutionary advantage. Not even Google and Facebook have figured out, and they spent billions, right? I just believe in my heart and in my head that this is going to be a real gold mine for investors.
Now, I know you can't tell us all of the details, Tobin, but can you please tell us a bit more about what gives this company such an edge? What do you think?
Well, essentially, this company has built the critical platform for artificial intelligence. Think of it like this. All the computers in the world hook up to the internet to be useful, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, this company has built the internet but for artificial intelligence, for AI. Literally any company working with AI will have to deal with this company. Here's the best part. I'm going to say this again. This stock is trading for under $2 a share. That means that even if this company captures just a tiny share of the $7 trillion market, it could soar to $1 trillion, and I'm not making this up. I mean, it would, not only would it be a 20 bagger, right? But this current stock only has a market cap of about 200 million, right? So it literally, I have not been this excited about a stock since Apple, which I recommended right before the iPhone came out. And I want Transformity investors to get all of the details, because not only do they get the name and the ticker and the symbol, but they're also going to get this exclusive 40-page report on the opportunity. I'm calling it, because I like these names, I'm calling it the AI Masterkey, the best stock to own for the AI revolution. And trust me, it is, right? Normally a report like this would retail for $700 or more. It cost me $50,000 of my own time and money just to put this all together. But I'll tell you, the folks who decide to test drive Transformity Investor today, and they claim a risk-free membership, they're going to get this report. They're going to get full access to the entire transformative portfolio for free. And remember that this AI pick is just a start. We have 6 other picks just like it in the transformative portfolio, right? So all in all, I'm just saying, I'd say we're looking at about $20,000 in hedge fund quality research, which we've sold to hedge funds, so I know that number. And you're going to get completely free with this risk-free trial. And the best part is, that's just what people get today. Everyone who joins also gets our entire membership for the entire year, all the member benefits. And we designed all of these benefits to help people navigate not only this massive transformative event, but I'm confident that each of the features in our members package will not just help you build a stronger retirement, but they'll keep you ahead of the curve, allow you to not only manage your retirement, but build it in the months ahead.
So what can people expect?
Well, first, so outside of all the reports I just mentioned, in this new deglobalization portfolio, people are also going to get 12 monthly newsletters from me, written by me and researched by my team. These newsletters will detail new transformative events as they happen. Case in point, the recent, Silicon Valley Bank crash, right?
Now, I remember earlier you had mentioned that your team covered that event pretty extensively. You were one of the only analysts who got in on that early, right?
Well, I'd say the record says yes. When most people were panicking, thinking our banking system was, going to hell in a handbasket, I put out research showing people how to take advantage of the market volatility. And that strategy could have shown anyone how to make 1,200%, as Silicon Valley Bank went down in value. And that's precisely the kind of stuff we're going to be covering in these monthly issues. New recommendations, big transformative events, and then follow-ups on the ongoing economic issues. It's all in these issues. And remember, you get 12 issues, during the year. That means that even if you didn't get anything else today, none of these reports are bonus portfolios, you would still get 12 stock picks for less than $10 a pick. I may not be a smart man, but it sounds like a pretty good deal, right? You also get, which I love, SMS alerts, text alerts to let you know how all these positions are going.
So that means you're going to begin sending people buy and sell alerts directly to their phone?
Yes, if they want it, and they should want it. But it's more than that, because if something's going south in the markets, or a big opportunity is appearing and we can't wait to our next email or update, you're going to get that text, all right? And these texts, these updates are critical if you want to make money, especially in a transformative world and transformative events. In fact, remember how I said you have to take 3 steps today to profit from the great unwinding?
I do.
Okay. Well, SMS updates provide access to the 3rd step, and that's immediate, timely information. Knowing what's happening in the markets within seconds can give you an incredible edge in this investing world, trust me. And it's the difference for many times between a profit and a loss. So that's why I wanted to provide an SMS alert system. I just know it's critical for making money in this market, especially during huge events like the Great Unwinding. And I know I've taken a lot of people's time today, but I just want to tell you one quick story about how critical this SMS system is. It's the best tool you're ever going to get outside of the portfolios, all right?
I'm all ears.
Okay. Well, not a lot of people know this about me, Brittany, but before I was on Fox or a finance guy, I was a ski instructor.
All right, well, that's quite a career progression, Tobin. Look at you, ski bum to Wall Street icon. Your wife must be a very happy lady.
Well, she only had to invest 37 years and her sanity. But but she's got the best version of me now. But anyway, back to the story. Yeah. Here's why these texts are so critical. In 2008, when I was getting into the money management business, I was skiing in Vail with a couple of my friends, fellow ski bums. And of course, this is 2008, right? So I'm at the top of the mountain and I have no service. And down in the world of mortal men, the markets are falling apart. Our guide was an ex-Olympian ski coach. I do not make this up. He's still one of the fastest ski runs of my life. And when I get to the bottom, all this news is hitting the fan. The markets are crashing, So I pull our portfolio up and I see that one of our stocks is dropping. And I tell people to sell at $345, right? Now, you would have laughed at me if you would have seen me, because I was still on dial-up,
Yeah,
right?
How could I forget?
But I sent that alert out. At the end of the day, the stock had dropped to $125. And that's why these alerts are so important. We live in a hair trigger world, right? We can't control everything about the market. We can't control where we're going to be. And when the caca hits the fan, okay?
The caca. Yeah. I like it.
But with instant alerts, you're always going to get information right away. And you'll be able to act on it immediately. And it will not only can make you money, but it can also save you from losses.
So this is a ton of value, Tobin. I want to do a quick run through of everything you're offering here today so people have a full picture of what's going on. If people claim a risk-free trial of your brand new investment research service, Transformity Investor, they'll get full access to your unwinding portfolio valued at $5,000, your transformative event portfolio valued at $1,500, a $700 AI report, the AI Masterkey, the best stock to own for the AI boom, 12 monthly issues, all with new recommendations and market updates, SMS alerts telling them when to buy and sell, as well as update them on emergency opportunities. Even a total deglobalization bundle, which you and your team usually sell for around $500. This bundle will tell people what's coming in the rest of 2023 and the names of 10 toxic stocks to sell right away. We're talking well over $3,000 in value here, Tobin, and it's all included in Transformity Investor membership.
As usual, you are correct. Now, since we're launching this service, I wanted charter members, our very first members, to get the best deal. I think that's how it works here, right? So that's why they're getting so many exclusive reports. I wanted to do something special to kick this off. This is a new chapter in my career, and that AI report won't be available later. This is your only chance to get it.
So I gotta say, Tobin, at this point, I'm gonna ask you, how much is this all going to cost? It's a $3,000 value, so around that, you think?
Not even close. Look, at the standard membership we're going to charge at some point here is $299 a year. That's incredible value, I think, in itself. But it's all about me, right? But if you're watching today and you decide to claim a charter membership, you won't even pay that. In fact, everyone who is here today can lock in a full year of Transformity Investor for the magic price of $99. And the best price that I will ever offer. I can guarantee you that. Keep in mind, this is risk-free, right? My friends say I'm crazy for offering this, but right now, folks can sign up and try Transformity Investor, get access to all of our reports and our portfolios. And within the first 60 days, if you're not happy, you can call our U.S. American-based and college-educated customer service team. That in itself is a value. And you can ask for a full cash refund, no questions asked. I mean, you can even keep the reports. We'll part as friends, all right? I'm not here to hold anybody hostage. If you don't get great value out of this, Transforming Investor probably is not for you, right? This is for dedicated folks. It's up for you to decide, do you want to partake or not, right? Feels like the 70s on that one. But I'll be up front. This isn't for people looking for get rich quick deal, who aren't willing to actually learn what is happening in the world. If you're not willing to do that, this won't be for you. I'll just save you the time.
Well, Tobin, I think that's incredibly generous of you. I know we're wrapping up here today, but let's throw a list of everything people will get if they sign up today on the screen. Folks, if you want to get first access to Tobin's Unwinding portfolio and all of the other benefits you see above, just click the button below to get all the details. Tobin, how long is this price and charter membership going to be available?
Well, I got to say, honestly, I'm not sure. I'm just the talent here, okay? We plan on cutting, I know this, we plan on cutting off charter memberships in the coming month.
Okay.
All right, so at that point, We'll be spending more on research and focusing on producing new content for existing members. So look at, if you want to claim a spot, don't wait. And I do want to mention, we have one other gift for charter members, another $700 report about a $3 battery stock. And you can learn more details in the membership form below. But this report is just going to be available for the first 500 people. So jump on it. Don't wait. Snooze, you lose. What else can I say?
Well, folks, now it's up to you. Do you try to keep navigating all of this chaos and market turbulence on your own? Or do you want to claim the upper hand for once, cutting through the media hysteria so you can start building the retirement of your dreams? Today, you can take the first step, allowing yourself the opportunity to get the real inside information about the markets without risking a dime, thanks to Mr. Tobin Smith. A man who consistently has looked out for the little guy, whether dealing with one-on-one clients or his viewers at Fox News. Don't miss out on getting his research for the best price ever and claim a membership below. Tobin, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
This has really, truly been very insightful. A bit scary at first, but you know what? It was great information. I'm glad that I now know what's happening. And thanks to this guy, we get to know how to prepare.
Love it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.